Greetings. I'm Banshee, your fearless navigator through the eerie realms of Banshee whale tales. Grab your comfiest blanket, perhaps a steaming cup of tea, and brace yourselves for tales that will have you checking under your bed tonight. I'm actively seeking listener stories to feature on the channel, so if you have a captivating story, please reach out to me. Now, let's embark on this haunting journey together. Story 1. Wendigo. 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 In 2020, I distinctly remember delving into numerous tales featuring those elusive forest creatures, with Bigfoot and skinwalkers taking center stage. However, this account doesn't revolve around them, but rather focuses on one of the most unsettling creatures I've ever come across, the Wendigo. Several months after my friend, Alex, mentioned the commotion, I decided to pay him a visit. Having recently completed my service in the U.S. Army, it was one of the first things I did upon my return. Our reunion sparked the idea of revisiting a secluded spot where his now ex-girlfriend used to take him for a peaceful retreat. Armed with my gun, we ventured into this forgotten area. Around 30 minutes into our adventure, Alex brought up the subject of the Wendigo, a name that unsettled me. Intrigued, I probed him for details. According to him, if you ventured into the woods and uttered Wendigo 3 times, you'd encounter the most terrifying sight. Tempted to challenge his assertion, I goaded him into proving it, a decision I would later regret. We embarked on a small path deep into the thick woods near the Georgia state line. It's essential to note that recent heavy rainfall had saturated the ground. Standing in complete silence, I reluctantly began to utter the name. Wendigo. 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 Yet, nothing happened. A sigh of relief escaped me, marking one of the rare times in our friendship where I seemingly proved him wrong. As we bantered, a noise in the distance caught our attention. My army instincts kicked in, and I turned towards the sounds, which turned out to be coyotes running across the path about 30 feet in front of us. Relief washed over me momentarily, but a lingering sense of unease prompted the decision to leave. As we turned to exit the woods, a tall pine tree began to groan and creak, descending suddenly. Acting on pure instinct, I pushed Alex forward, narrowly avoiding being crushed as the tree fell between us. Alex cried out in terror as I leaped over the fallen tree to reach him. His heart pounded, and he was still visibly shaken as I shouted, "Move, Alex. Move now." Spinning him around, we sprinted down the path in the direction we came, refusing to look back. Sprinting through the woods, a familiar sound echoed from behind me. "Alex. Alex, come quick." It was the sound of Alex's younger sister, Olivia. He turned and tried to pass me, screaming, "Olivia." I halted him, stating firmly, "Alex, look at me. It's not her. Do you hear me? It's not her." In that moment, another pine tree started to buckle. I tackled Alex to the ground just in time, narrowly avoiding being crushed. Shouting at him once more, "Go. Get out of here. Go now." I pulled my gun from my waistband, aiming it down the trail from where we came. Alex reached the trail's opening, turned back, and noticed I was still aiming my gun down the trail. "Mike, get out of there. Come on, hurry." I turned and sprinted towards him. As I made it into the clearing about 50 feet, I turned, and we both saw it, the creature we had inadvertently summoned. The Wendigo. Standing about 9 feet tall on its hind legs, with practically no meat on its bones, skinny legs, and even skinnier arms. Its skin was a pale white, almost like a vampire's. But the most striking feature was its eyes, a vibrant blue, reminiscent of lightsabers in Star Wars. Overcoming my fear, I raised my gun and fired at the Wendigo. Not waiting to see if I had killed it, Alex turned and ran towards the car. Following suit, I turned and sprinted past him. That was my initial encounter with the so-called Wendigo, and I fervently hope each night that I never have to confront something that terrifying again. Story 2. Coyotes? Nope. At 18, I went on a fishing trip with my pals, Ryan, Mark, Ethan, and Chris. Our fishing spot, under a bridge, was about 1.5 miles from any houses. The day started with excitement as we looked forward to fishing and relaxing. The journey was smooth, with squash fields along the road, allowing a detour to grab some. We enjoyed fishing until around 9:30 p.m. when things got unexpected. Before I continue, it's important to note that Ryan, with Navajo ancestry, while I identified as an atheist, The atmosphere changed as we heard distant barks resembling a wild dog pack. Considering our location, encountering such a pack seemed unlikely. Coyotes crossed our minds, but we dismissed it since they yip, not bark. Paranoia set in, leading us to decide unanimously to head back, covering the 8 miles and ending the night with rum at Ryan's place. On the way back, Ryan suddenly stopped, his concerned expression turning to fear. Intrigued, I approached him, and he grabbed my wrist, pointing to the fields. All I could see were eyes the size of footballs staring back at me. Agreeing to keep it between us to prevent panic, Ryan and I increased our pace, making the others follow suit. Midway to Ryan's house, we passed a white farmhouse with a cornfield. Suddenly, it felt like a plane had zoomed by, leaving a 40-yard trail through the corn. All the while, dogs barked incessantly behind us. At Ryan's house, we pulled out a 12 gauge and a bottle of rum, settling on his porch. The dogs from earlier whined in the distance, seemingly upset with our presence. Story 3. Elkman Bear Pig. Dude, you won't believe what just happened. I'm holed up in my room, and the elk call outside my place just hit a whole new level of creepy. Imagine this. I'm chilling, soaking in the evening vibes, and then BM. The elk call kicks in, but it's all wrong. Instead of the usual majestic thing, it starts with this human-like scream. I'm talking blood-curdling, nightmare-inducing screams, and then it snaps back to the regular elk sound. My heart's pounding, man. It's dusk, and we've been hearing elks for days, but this ain't normal. The blend of those human-like cries with the usual elk vibe is freaking me out. I can't shake this feeling that something's seriously messed up in the woods just outside my place. I'm practically on high alert, trying to figure out where the hell this freaky mix is coming from. The calls keep hitting, switching between the creepy human wails and the elk sounds. It's like the forest is screaming secrets in a language that's messing with my head. I'm straining to catch every damn sound, trying to wrap my head around this messed up situation. The night, which used to be all serene with nature doing its thing, now feels like I'm trapped in some horror story. The elk call outside my place has me on edge, and as the night gets darker, these spine-chilling echoes just won't let up. I'm legit freaked out, man. Story 4. Wendigo's Whisper, a Wilderness Encounter. In the early spring of 2015, deep in the heart of the Rocky Mountains, I ventured on an elk hunting expedition with my father and older brother. Our journey began before sunrise, navigating winding rivers and tackling rapids throughout the day to cover as much ground as possible. With plans to conclude the expedition the following day, we established a camp halfway to our destination. As night fell and everyone retired, I decided to gather some firewood and attend to personal matters by the riverbank, away from the campfire's glow. That's when things took an unexpected turn. Approximately 15 yards from the tree line, I heard rustling in the bushes. Initially unremarkable, I soon began to feel peculiar, dizzy, and lightheaded. A repulsive stench, reminiscent of old milk or rotten food, permeated the air. The trees began to morph, assuming the form of a head with faint facial features. As my eyes adapted to the darkness, a voice emanated from the tree line. It sounded familiar, akin to one of my recently departed relatives. The face materialized to resemble that relative, offering a greeting. "Hello, I've missed you. Come see me." I reciprocated with a smile and took a step forward, but the situation quickly deteriorated. The relative's face lost its expression, the skin began peeling away, and chunks of flesh fell off. Overwhelmed by fear and shock, I began retreating to the camp. Unbeknownst to me, I had inadvertently approached the voice, distancing myself from the campfire's light. The voice grew agitated, demanding that I come closer. I turned to run and, glancing back, witnessed a grotesque humanoid creature, rotting flesh, gnawed bone, caved-in eyes, and a hollow chest. Towering and emaciated, it was a nightmarish sight. I sprinted, attempting to shout for help, but fear muted my voice. Along the riverbank, I heard the creature's heavy breaths and stomping feet trailing just behind me. Barely escaping its grasp as I ascended the riverbank, I cried for help. Awoken by the commotion, my brother rushed to my aid, pulling me up and leading me back to the camp. Terrified, I tried recounting what I had witnessed, relieved when my brother acknowledged, "I saw it too, I know." We remained vigilant throughout the night, rifles at the ready, packing up at sunrise and swiftly returning home. Fearful of being dismissed as crazy, we kept the story to ourselves. The ensuing months were marked by nightmares and sleepless nights. Dark figures loomed outside my window, and whispers accompanied my nocturnal strolls. Seeking assistance from medicine men and shamans, I discovered that their ceremonies provided only temporary relief. Friends offered various items, from protection pouches to crystals. There's a substantial likelihood that I encountered a Wendigo. Surviving the encounter meant it attached to me like a parasite, touching me that fateful night. Since then, venturing into any forest or wooded area leaves me on edge. Though I once reveled in the outdoors, hunting, and nature, I now feel compelled to keep my back against something in the wild. Make of this account what you will. I've learned firsthand not to underestimate the tales of old. They're genuine. Story 5. Twisted Wilderness Dreams. About half a decade ago, my buddy experienced this bizarre series of dreams involving a mysterious creature. It all kicked off when he spotted this strange-looking animal from a distance. In the initial dream, he's cruising through the woods with his dad and a friend. He notices a deer tailing them, but when he tries to share, everyone thinks he's seeing things. Fast forward a week, and it's the same dream but with a twist. They end up at a house in the woods, thinking they lost the deer on a winding road. Exiting the truck, my friend senses they're being watched. Lo and behold, the same deer appears, but this time, it's all messed up, eyes missing, fur in disarray. He wakes up, freaked out and sweating. The weirdness doesn't stop there. The dream escalates with the deer standing on hind legs, towering with antlers resembling tree branches. It screams, unleashing an attack like someone's getting torn apart. Out of nowhere, a voice urges my friend to fight back or die. So, he engages in this surreal battle with the crazed deer through the night. But here's the kicker: just before dawn, my buddy feels this warm light within. He persists in the fight, and the deer eventually concedes, reverting to all fours and vanishing into the woods. Before disappearing, it looks back, uttering something cryptic like, "You better keep fighting." Suddenly, he's in a house with an unfamiliar old guy who commends his fight but suggests cleaning up. When he wakes, he's sore, as if he'd been through an actual battle. Isn't it wild? It's like he's caught up in this intense struggle with a warped dream deer, and the whole thing exudes this mysterious vibe. Story 6. Quiet Night by the Lake. On a calm summer night, I decided to try my hand at night fishing by the lake. Positioned with my back to the woods, I was surrounded by the soothing sounds of nature under the gentle glow of the moon. The occasional ripple on the water and the chirping of crickets created a peaceful backdrop for the night ahead. While waiting for a nibble on my fishing line, a soft rustle from the nearby woods caught my attention. Thinking it might be a raccoon or possum, I turned to take a look. What unfolded before me was unexpected. A figure emerged, bathed in the moon's light, moving in a peculiar way on all fours with its rump in the air. It was a strange sight that gave me an uneasy feeling. Slowly, I pulled out my Bowie knife, just in case. The figure, hairless and beige in the moonlight, made its way to the water without making a sound. It disappeared beneath the surface without a trace, defying the natural order. Faced with a mix of fear and fascination, I grappled with the decision to stay or go, ultimately choosing to remain until the sun began to rise. As daylight slowly overcame the darkness, the mysterious figure vanished into memory. The once quiet lake now held a touch of the extraordinary, leaving me with lingering thoughts about the enigmatic encounter by the moonlit waters. Story 7. Mysterious Waters. One evening, while discreetly tuning into my parents' conversation, they unveiled a peculiar incident from nearly 2 decades ago at Crescent Cove in Charleston, South Carolina. The room adopted an air of gravity as they recounted the story, enticing my curiosity into the realms of the unknown. Unable to resist, I interjected, "What's the story?" Dad's expression turned serious as he said, "Prepare yourself for a tale that might challenge your understanding." Yeah, go on," I replied, my attempt at nonchalance betraying a growing interest. "About 18 years back, your mom and I were spending time at Crescent Cove, believing it to be just another ordinary day," Mom began, her voice carrying a subtle weight. "All right, unfold the peculiarities," I said, my teenage bravado giving way to a more solemn demeanor. In the water, roughly 50 feet away, we witnessed this figure. Clad entirely in black, resembling a character from a cinematic thriller, Dad continued, infusing a sense of mystery into the narrative. Mom sighed, and tension threaded through her words. And here's where the narrative takes a bizarre turn. Gliding through the water, waist deep, it emanated an aura more evocative of a sinister force than a heroic presence. Sinister vibes? I suggested, skepticism now subdued. Perhaps. We dubbed it the Nightshade Glider. With big, black eyes, a small nose, and mouth, it gazed at us before vanishing beneath the bank. Dad explained, the thrill of the past now replaced by lingering uncertainty. Why didn't you investigate further? I asked, curiosity now mingled with a profound sense of unease. Mom chuckled, the levity absent. Investigate? It disappeared beneath the bank, over 10 feet deep. No heroic gestures, just a chilling act of disappearance. I nodded, the room descending into a contemplative silence. Did you ever catch sight of it again? No. It simply vanished, leaving behind the haunting essence of a peculiar memory, Dad concluded, ending the tale with a sobering finality. As I retreated to my room, the shadows whispered of concealed mysteries, leaving me with a sense of disquiet and the realization that my parents harbored more than they dared to disclose. Story 8. Big Scare. So, here I am, all hyped up to capture the blood moon's magic, driving to this secluded spot just outside of town. As I pull in, I notice a youngish tree sprawled by the creek, that go-to spot for moonlit fishing. I set up my camera and scope, ready for some celestial action. Rustling in the bushes is no news, probably just coyotes on the prowl. No big deal, right? I got my trusty handgun on my hip, just in case. But this time, the rustling's louder, like something bulldozing through the woods. I pause, my flashlight sweeping the area, half expecting a rogue cow or something. Nada, nothing in sight. The noise, though, gets under my skin, sends shivers down my spine. So, I decide it's time to pack up and skedaddle. And then it hits, splashing in a thunderous crack, echoing through the quiet night. Spooked the living daylights out of me. Now, it gets even crazier. You see, I'm fairly new around these parts, moved in just a few months ago. Locals, they've been dropping cryptid stories, things that go bump when the sun goes down. As I back away, I start wondering, could this be one of those cryptids they were jabbering about? A swamp creature or some local legend? The creek, my go-to chill spot, turns into this mysterious puzzle waiting to be cracked. The night clings to its secrets, leaving me with an unsettling itch to uncover what hides in the shadows. Oh, and get this. I swear, as I'm skedaddling, I hear this massive crack on a tree 3 times. Like someone or something giving it a good wallop. Bigfoot vibes, right? Adds a whole new layer to the mystery. Story 9. Pringle's Creature. Late at night, around 2 a.m., I was driving home from a friend's place. Suddenly, this tiny, little white thing, probably as tall as a Pringles can, decided to take a leisurely stroll right across the road in front of my car. I couldn't believe my eyes, so I immediately called my husband, and in a jittery state, I spilled all the details about this weird creature. To my surprise, he said it sounded like something called the Fresno Nightcrawler. When I got home, I checked it out, and guess what? That strange critter I saw matched the Nightcrawler description. Now, here's the kicker. I had no clue about these things before, and I definitely don't live anywhere near California. Digging up more memories, I remember its legs, having flowy bits at the ends, like ribbons, and it was almost see-through. I could almost see the road through the see-through thing. It walked in a funny way, kind of like a person taking a casual stroll. The whole thing left me scratching my head, wondering what the heck I stumbled upon during that peculiar late-night drive home from my friend's place. Story 10. Knock, knock, knock. Out in the rugged backcountry of Northern California, my old man and I settled on a secluded spot deep in the thick brush, aiming to camp under the star-studded sky. Nightfall settled in, and true to form, Dad was snoring away in a flash. Meanwhile, I grappled with my usual fear of the forest at night, a lingering unease that kept me on edge throughout the night. Then, breaking the stillness, rustling started, accompanied by the distinctive sound of twigs snapping under some hefty weight. Dad, oblivious in dreamland, and me, on the verge of a meltdown. Initially, I figured it might be some eccentric wanderer stumbling into our camp. Squinting through the darkness, I made out the silhouette, a massive, hairy creature striding on two legs like a human, merely 10 feet away. Panic welled up, but I opted for the play-dead strategy. As it prowled around, the woods echoed with 3 solid knocks, each thud resonating like an eerie invitation to the unknown. The creature, likely a Bigfoot, zeroed in on the scent of Dad's cooking. Oddly indifferent to our presence, it ambled around, sniffing for a late-night snack. Now, I'm not just terrified. I'm also gagging from the rancid stench oozing off this creature. Eventually, the Bigfoot grew bored, melted into the shadows, each retreating step accompanied by a knock in the woods. I spent the rest of the night in my sleeping bag, eyes wide open, nerves frayed. Come morning, as we prepared to leave, we stumbled upon a disturbing scene. Mutilated remains of small woodland creatures, arranged grotesquely on the hood of our car. Squirrels, rabbits, and birds, with their entrails exposed and limbs contorted in unnatural positions, a gruesome display that turned my stomach. The horrifying sight added an extra layer of dread to our already unsettling night. Still wary, we packed up, sharing uneasy glances, haunted by the eerie happenings in the woods. My dad, though skeptical, couldn't shake off the unease, and even I, with my reluctant acceptance of the Bigfoot encounter, couldn't explain the macabre scene we found before leaving. As we part ways, kindred souls, let the echoes of these haunting tales linger in your thoughts. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, share it with your fellow enthusiasts, and subscribe. Keep your flashlights shining bright, and may your fascination with the shadows never stop captivating you. This is Banshee, signing off. Pleasant nightmares.